So this train derailed, right? And there's chemicals on it, and it's now on fire, and it's exploding. And the people of the town need to be evacuated because if they breathe in these chemicals while it's burning, that's even worse. It creates a worse situation for them. So they're like, anyone within 2 miles of the explosion of the train derailment, you need to go. And like their limitations, by the way, were like, you only need to be a mile out of town, not far enough. And they said, hey, while you guys are out evacuated, we're going to do a controlled burn of these chemicals so it doesn't explode. And that way you can come back as soon as possible. And what was supposed to be a controlled burn, I mean, it was a fucking mushroom. It was a Chernobyl-like explosion. You could see it from space. There's images on the screen of what they have now done to our atmosphere, let alone the environment, let alone the states now. So what happened was, guess what? The wind picked it up. So now this smog cloud of burnt chemicals, which is creating hydrochloric acid, by the way, we'll get to the video in a second, but it's creating acid rain, is spreading from Ohio to Pennsylvania to West Virginia and maybe 1 or 2 other states. So good job, Ohio people. Good job. This guy explains it right here. Let me just find the video real quick. This guy explains it, and he does a really good job. Jeez, hold on 1 second. He does a really good job of explaining pretty much everything that's going on. So we're going to start it right here. And I mean, just listen to, I trust this guy. This is what he has to say.
Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. 1, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Right. Politicians also just repeat the same lines, right, and then news outlets just repeat the same. So all we're hearing is the responsible party's word.
So, I mean, right. And so thank goodness for people like him who are explaining it to people like us because, by the way, the federal government hasn't done shit. They finally just sent a representative from the federal government today. I think he showed up like an hour ago. Just an hour ago. It's February 16th. It's been burning for 2 weeks. People have rashes on their faces. People have headaches. They're throwing up. They're breathing in hydrochloric frickin', what's it called? Acrylic fluoride? I mean, Jesus Christ. It's a mini Chernobyl. Why isn't the federal government there with hazmat suits, masks, tents, wash stations, and helicopters to get this small town? It can't be more than, I don't know, what's the population now? What's the population of East Palestine, Ohio? And it's probably going to be a small number. It's about 4,000 people. So out of those 4,000, I'm sure maybe 1,000 are gone and have somewhere to be. You only have to get rid of 3,000 people. It'll take you a day. find hotels, find cities to put them in. If governors and politicians and other people from Florida and Texas can put a bunch of immigrants on a bus and just send them to Martha's Vineyard, I'm sure the federal government can do something for the people of East Palestine, Ohio. Like, what's going on? They're lying to them about how serious this is. They told them they could come back after 3 days of this controlled burn and a fucking smog of smoke that Mordor would put off, that they could come back and that it's okay to breathe the air and that the water's okay to drink. But guess what, homie? 35,000 fish are now dead. And you want to drink water that comes out of that stream? The shit's leaked into the Ohio River. And guess how many people that affects? About 5 million people get their drinking water from that river. Now, they have systems in place to filter out chemicals such as this. And they say it's safe to drink. And they say they're doing a good job filtering it out. And they say it's okay to drink. But would you honestly trust some water that just killed 35,000 fish from a chemical explosion spill on a railroad track just a few miles down the street that's now seeping into the soil of the ground? Wildlife are dying. Dogs and pets are throwing up and dying on the streets. There are animals dead in the area. It is a mini Chernobyl, and the federal government has just now sent one person. They have just now sent, at this time, have sent one person to assess what's going on. Hey man, wake up. Get him out and wake up. Roll in the National Guard and wake up. If you're telling me you don't have the freaking balls to write a check to the Ukraine for $87 billion because they need a few more tanks to defend themselves from Putin, but when the federal government regulates some bullshit about some train safety law and this shit overturns and there's a town of 5,000 people, something that, yeah, listen, it's not a lot of people, so it's not a big fucking deal to them. I get it, but it's still people's lives that are in jeopardy. There are rashes on their faces, and they have sent one person to assess the damage and do what? I mean, if your tax dollars are going to fight the efforts in another country's war, what happens when the city, like where they're not, you can't go back. It's a mini Chernobyl. This isn't good for anybody. And no one's doing anything about it. The people are pissed. There's still people there. They have to live. Like that's where they live. People just dropped thousands upon thousands of dollars of their life savings on 14-acre farms and houses. And some people are in the outskirts, but they're still feeling the effects because it's in the air. And it's going to take probably months, if not years, for that acid and all of those chemicals to evaporate. If you spill a bottle of the acid in your house, it's fine because it will evaporate in a few hours. You open some windows and it'll be gone. But when an entire train spills it, it's there for a while. And so bringing these people back and telling them it is safe to drink the water that just killed 35,000 fish, like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. You're not telling them the truth. You're not telling them what to do correctly. Like the governor, one of the guys who's like running the whole show literally said, if you're right here, right now, you will die. They shut down his press conference early and told the press they had 5 minutes to get the hell out because a train was about to explode. Like, they're serious about this. They held a town hall just last night, and not a mayoral figure, a federal government figure, anyone of importance who has any type of answers showed up, bothered to speak, had nothing to say. And it's just a town, a gymnasium filled with hundreds of people who are terrified and have nowhere else to go because the government of the United States is giving them zero answers when this is indirectly, maybe, I'm almost positive, has something to do with maybe their fault. Like, there's nothing in place for this. Is that what we're telling? Is that what I am to understand? That in 2023, we cannot send and set up and get everything taken care of. Why was this not taken care of weeks ago? What the president was too worried. Biden's been asleep since the Super Bowl. He went to one Super Bowl party. He passed out at 6:30, 2 minutes after kickoff. He said, "Oh, tails on the coin toss, isn't there?" And fell asleep. And that was it. He didn't even see the game. That's how fucking tired he is. He's so tired. He doesn't even know what's going on in Ohio. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people. I'm sorry. I mean, our thoughts and freaking prayers go out to the people who are there. Dude, if you're there, get out. If you're still there and you have any type of resources, if you heard the news that you could come back and you went back and you got a little tingle in your throat, you got a little headache, you got a little tingle, you got a little rash on your cheek. I watched one interview with one couple who's like, there's nowhere to go. There's no money to go. They can't afford $300 a night at the nearest hotel, let alone $80 a night, $100 a night, whatever the rate is. I'm sure they're jacked because of this and everyone else staying at hotels. But dude, get out. If you can leave, get out. Try to find a resource, a relative, somewhere cheap, even if it's a shit hotel. Staying in a shit motel for $20, $10, I don't know, find something is better than suffering from acid rashes and headaches and everlasting effects that are probably going to give you cancer and inevitably, in about probably, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, kill you. I understand you're not going to be able to sell your house. Listen, there's no answers. There's no answers to give, I guess. But the only thing that we can do is pray and send our thoughts out to those people. We'll have more on this story, I guess, as it develops and continues. They held a town hall last night on the 15th. The mayor, no one showed up, like I said. And the latest photos, I mean, from the sky, people are flying over. And I mean, it's just it looks like the map from the Resident Evil movies of like the world getting taken over by zombies. Like the cloud is just as big as, I don't know, probably 20 football fields, maybe like 100 jets is how big this cloud plume is. I mean, just look at it. It's from Reddit. It's on the screen. It's insane, dude. I mean, if you're anywhere near this thing, you've got to get away. And I mean, the factory that employed 99% of the people in that town shut down for good now, gone. So the jobs are gone. It will be a ghost town in, I guarantee it, 3 to 5 years. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry that the federal government can't be more of help to you, but you'll see commercials. It's fine. You'll see commercials on the news in those 3 to 5, maybe 8, maybe 10 years. If you or a loved one was affected by the events that happened on February 3rd in East Palestine, Ohio, please call 1-800-666-55555. You could be entitled to up to $1 million if you or your family has passed away from the following: cancer, diarrhea, vomiting, chronic headaches, this, that, all the symptoms that they're facing right now. The commercial will state, and you might be able to get, I don't know, a few $100. You'll probably get a few $100 because the federal government failed. Lawsuits have already been filed. The train company has already been sued. The city has been sued. The chemical company is being sued. I mean, this isn't over. It's a mini Chernobyl and no one's treating it as such. I find it baffling that we have a like mini Chernobyl level. Listen, I know it's a huge word to use, but like you can't, if you walk in there, your face gets itchy. So like, let's not like kid ourselves. It's in the water. It's in the water. Get out now. And I wouldn't go back for at least, I mean, see what it's like in a few months. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope for once on this podcast, I'm wrong. And that it comes back and it's green and we see a news article in 3 to 6 months and it says they're happier than ever and everyone's great and they're having water chugging contests and no one's dying. I hope I'm wrong. But, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that that's what's going on. So